my name is Sharon Onuma, and I live in Tysons, Virginia. I'm a CPA and senior tax accountant at EY. Welcome to my virtual field trip. The AI CPA has asked me to share a typical day with you and show you what my job looks like. A lot of people think tax can be challenging, but I see something really exciting because it allows me to help businesses plan tax efficient structures in a way that helps their companies work better and work smarter. As a tax person, someone would typically think you're in a cubicle all day working by yourself and just crunching numbers, and that's far from the truth. You're usually client facing, you're talking to clients, and you're working with your team. I was born in Nigeria. I lived there through most of my high school years. Moving to the United States just opened a lot of doors for me in terms of meeting people, getting into college, and just getting into a career that I really enjoy. I started studying for my CPA literally the next day after graduation. On graduation day, when I was at dinner with my family and my friends, all I was thinking about was I need to go home and get like 8 hours of sleep because I needed to start studying the next day. I currently serve on AI CPA Student Recruitment Committee as the Vice Chair, and in my role, I visit different campuses across the United States, and I talk to students about my experience as a CPA.
Hello, I'm Sharon Onuma, and welcome to the CPA Experience.
The CPA Experience is a platform I built. It's a YouTube channel and a blog. It's dedicated to sharing my experiences in public accounting and providing students with tips and tricks on how to pass the CPA exam. I put out videos maybe once a month, and I also feature people who have taken the exam and who have passed the exam, so people also get a different viewpoint. One thing I wanted for myself was to still maintain my physical health while having a career. And so a goal I set for myself was to do a race in at least 6 of the 7 continents. And to date, I've done 2 half marathons in the United States and then in Europe. My next big goal in terms of running is to do a full marathon. And so I'm planning to do that sometime next year. When I talk to students who are thinking about a career in accounting and they're doubting the possibility of maybe finishing your CPA, I tell them, if I can do this, you can do this as well. Just believe in yourself, work hard, and put in the effort. It would pay dividends down the road. Sometimes when I talk to students on campus, they're really torn between going into a career in audit or going into a career in tax. And typically I tell them you could get a career in tax and still get to do both. I think it's the best of both worlds. It's really exciting that I get to do both. Maybe the CPA experience for someone else would mean working and building a small business. It's very different for different people, but what I typically tell people is to discover what you think your CPA experience is. Just think about what you really want to do. Think about where you see yourself and think about what really brings you joy and happiness and try to build something out of that. I think the qualities of running that parallels success in your career or in your work is consistent discipline, consistent effort. Every single day, whatever you put in is what you're going to get out at the end. I hope you enjoy this virtual tour and you consider a career in accounting. This is a rewarding profession that needs bright young people just like you. Hey guys, welcome to my virtual field trip. I'm Sharon Onuma, and I'm a CPA at EY and a senior tax accountant. I'm really excited you guys all tuned in. I'm really excited to be doing this presentation with you guys. And I'm excited to hear what questions you guys have about the profession, about the CPA exam, and about just my experience in general. And just a brief overview in terms of how this presentation is going to go. I'm going to give you guys a brief introduction about myself in terms of my educational and my career background, and I'll tell you guys why I decided to become a CPA, what a career in tax really looks like, and some of my personal interests and my service to others with the AI CPA, and then I'll open up for questions. And then, like I said, I'm Sharon, I'm a CPA. I'm also a runner. I picked up running when I was in college.
I took some running classes because I wanted to get my 150 credits. So I took some fun classes, and running was one of them. And that really sparked my interest in running. And so far, like I said, I've run 2 half marathons, and I'm planning to run more in the future. It's just a way for me to stay in shape and just stay active. I'm a volunteer. I volunteer with the AICPA on the Student Recruitment Committee. I'm a YouTube creator. I create videos on YouTube about my CPA experience, about how I passed the exam. And I also feature people who have taken and passed the CPA exam and people who have very different and diverse career paths with accounting, just to showcase the different opportunities there are with an accounting degree and with your CPA designation. I am also a very proud Terp. I graduated from the University of Maryland in May 2013 with an accounting degree and an information systems degree, because I double majored because I wanted to get the 150 credits, and that was the best option for me at the time. And in terms of my career path, I started as an accounting tutor at the University of Maryland. I tutored for about 3 years, tutoring accounting, intermediate accounting, and taxation. And then in the spring of 2011, I got invited to an EY conference called Discover Tax, and that really exposed me to a bunch of really amazing tax professionals who were passionate about what they did and who really sparked my interest in tax and made me more interested in a career in tax. Then the summer after, in summer 2011, I got an internship with EY, at the time was a non-client serving internship. It just allowed me to see what opportunities there were at the firm, the different service lines, what they did, had the opportunity of shadowing different people and really understanding what they did as professionals. And that really helped me understand what different service lines EY had. And that's how I eventually chose to intern in tax. So the following summer, in summer of 2012, I did my client serving tax internship, and I had an amazing experience. And then with the people I interned with, I made really great friends, really great colleagues. I built a lot of relationships with the people here. And I got an offer. I got an offer that summer, a full-time offer position. And so when I graduated the next summer in May 2013, I already had an offer to start full-time. I started full-time with EY in the fall of 2013 because I took the summer off to study for my CPA. And that's a question I typically get often from students. At what point is the best time to study for your CPA exam? I typically recommend the students study as soon as they graduate. As soon as they get out of college, as soon as they graduate from college, study then, because the material is still fresh in your memory. You just got out from class, just got out from learning the materials, and that's what I typically recommend. So that summer, after I graduated, I started studying, and I started with EY in the fall of 2013, and I've been with EY ever since. It's been a little over 4 years, and I'm having a great experience. I work with really smart, amazing people. And it's just great. It's just a lot more opportunities that I'm excited for. In terms of why I decided to become a CPA, I decided to become a CPA because it's a very respectable and distinguished career path. It's very well recognized in business. So whenever you talk to business professionals, when you say you're a CPA, they know what that means. They know you add value to your clients. They know that you are an independent professional, that you're a client servant and you provide value to your clients. And just knowing that it was the highest level I could get to as an accountant just really inspired me and really was of interest to me, and that's why I pursued getting my CPA license. And also just the idea of having a job security after college. No one wants to leave college and be unemployed. That's not a plan. Like, you spend a lot of money paying for college tuition. You want to graduate from college and have a job and a career lined up for you. And so a CPA provided me that job security and the job demand. Currently, like, there's a lot of people who recruit for my skills, who are constantly reaching out, asking if I want to change careers. So it's just knowing that there's a ton of opportunities and the job security out there really interested me in pursuing my CPA. And also the earning potential. I mean, I wanted to have a really amazing lifestyle. I wanted to afford things I liked. And so the earning potential was also of interest to me. And just the lifestyle and career flexibility, just knowing that there were different career options that I had as a CPA. As a CPA, I don't only have to work in public accounting. I could work in a different industry. I could work in a small business. I could own my own business. Just knowing the different flexibility and the different options that a CPA afforded me really sparked my interest and made me really want to pursue getting my CPA license. And then I also get questions about my career in tax, my career in public accounting. And I like to think of a career in public accounting as getting a real life MBA degree, because you're always learning, you're always growing, you really understand how businesses work, you really understand the value you're adding to businesses. So when you're getting an MBA degree, as I've heard, you're doing a lot of case studies, you're understanding how businesses function, you're providing advice to like maybe make-believe businesses just to see how you can improve those businesses. As a person in public accounting, we are providing such advice on a real-life basis. I can see how my advice and how my services are improving my client's business every single day, building a better working world. So it's really exciting for me to just see how the services I provide are helping my companies get better, and how I am, as a professional, I'm constantly growing, I'm constantly learning. There's always something new happening, and it just really keeps it exciting. I also get questions about what a typical day looks like for me. And there's not really a typical day, because the kind of services I do and the things I do in a certain day differ day to day. But one thing is guaranteed in each day. It's like, I know I'm going to learn something new, and I know I'm going to be coaching someone else to help them learn something new, and I know I'm going to be serving my clients. At least those three things, or one of the three, happens on each given day, which keeps it really exciting and gives me a very rewarding experience. And in terms of the services I provide and what I do as a tax professional, I would like to group the services I provide into two main buckets. So the first, I would say, is tax compliance and reporting, and the next is auditing the income tax on financial statements. And I'll explain what that means in a little bit. In terms of compliance, think of companies that are really large, who have really large global footprints. They operate in different jurisdictions, in different countries. So each of those countries likely have a tax reporting guidance, a tax reporting requirement for those companies, and those companies have to comply with those tax reporting requirements. And that's where we come in. We help companies report their income and pay tax to the various taxing jurisdictions in which they operate. We also help companies interpret the various tax laws and legislation. Case in point, here in the US, the new law that was just passed, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that was recently just passed about 3 months ago. A lot of companies are relying on us to help them understand how those laws apply to them, how they can comply and stay compliant with all the new taxes, all the new provisions in the law. And so that's where we come in, and that's how we provide value to our clients. And also helping companies with effective tax planning and taking advantage of the credits and the deductions is also something we do. So if you look at an income statement, you see revenue, you see expense, you see payroll expense, advertising expense. Income tax expense is just an expense on the financial statement as well. And companies are trying to operate effective tax structures to minimize their tax spendings so that they can reinvest their dollars in growing their business and bettering the lives of their employees. And so providing value to my clients, helping them with effective tax planning and seeing how they can save their tax dollars and better their businesses, it's something I also work on a day-to-day basis. And then in terms of auditing, think of publicly traded companies, think of the Apples of the world, the Googles of the world, Starbucks. They all have to release financial statements to the public. They all have to tell the public how much money they've made in the year, how they're expected to grow in a certain period of time. And so before they can release those financials to the public, we have to attest that the company's financial statements are free of material misstatements. And that's where I come in. On the financial statement, there's a line called income tax expense. I go in with my team and we make sure that the company has appropriately reported their income tax expense, and the income tax expense is free of material misstatements. So auditing involves understanding the company's business, understanding their global footprint, understanding the tax structure, and making sure that their taxes are reported in an appropriate manner. And auditing also involves attesting that a company has the appropriate controls to prevent and detect material misstatements. And so those are the two things I mostly work on as a tax professional at EY. And when I get questions about what a typical day looks like for me, I think a better explanation of what my day looks like or what I do is to really understand my year at a glance. Because by understanding my year, you can know maybe what I'm working on at a certain time in the year, and get a more broader picture of what a tax professional's career and life really looks like. So Q1, which is where we are currently, I like to think of my year in quarters, so Q1 through Q4. Q1, which is the quarter we're currently working in right now. So the past 2 months, I've been working on helping companies file their annual financial statements, which is the 10K. So I've been auditing the income tax portion of the financial statements. And then in March, we help companies with estimating the tax payments, the tax liability for 2018, and then helping them pay a portion of that tax liability to the appropriate taxing jurisdiction. And then in April, when April rolls around, companies, publicly traded companies, are also required to issue quarterly statements, quarterly financials. So compared to the 10K, the 10K is the annual one. In the quarters, they release what we call the 10Q. So around April, I'm going to be reviewing quarterly financials and making sure that those quarterly financials are materially stated in terms of the tax expense, the tax balances on their balance sheet. And then around May, most of my private clients who are not publicly traded but still have to issue financial statements typically like to issue around May or June. So around May or June, I'm helping companies with reviewing, auditing their financials. And then in June, similar to March, we're helping companies estimate their Q2 estimated tax payments. And then July, companies file their second quarter financials, and during that time I'm helping with reviewing the 10Q filings. And then because in Q2 in April, a lot of companies are really busy with getting their Q1 financials out the door, they don't have time to provide us with all the adequate information to file the corporate tax return, which is usually due in April. Then they request an extension. So typically in April, we file an extension for the companies to extend their tax return to October. And so in around July and October, we're helping the companies with filing the tax return, which have been extended because those tax returns are now due in October. So between July and September, that's the time when the actual preparation of tax return happens for most of my clients that are corporate. And then in October, similar to April and July, where the company has quarterly filings, the Q3 financials are usually filed in October. And so during that time, I'm helping with reviewing and auditing the quarterly financials. And then around November, and also we're filing the corporate tax returns, actually telling them this is how much money you owe, this is how much money you have to pay to the federal, to the state of Maryland, to the state of Virginia, whatever states they operate in. We tell them what taxes they have due, and we help them file those tax returns. Typically that happens around October. And then in November and December, we're doing interim procedures and year-end audit planning. So we're planning for the next year's audit. So like I said, in January and February, I spent my time auditing companies who were publicly traded. We planned for those audits in November and December so that when January and February rolls around, we're already prepared and we can just go on site and get the audits done. And so around December, we help with Q4 estimated tax payments. So as you can see, a lot of things are very similar, but it happens at very different times. In each quarter, there's a quarterly estimated tax payment, and there's also a quarterly filing for publicly traded companies. So there's a lot of different things that happen with each quarter that keeps the work exciting and just keeps it interesting every single day. So there's not really a typical day, but there's things that you can learn every single time. In terms of my interest and my service with the AICPA, I currently, like I said earlier, I like running and I also like traveling. So I just thought of a creative way to merge those two together. And that's why I made a goal for myself to run in at least 6 of the 7 continents of the world. And so by doing that, I get to travel and I get to run and just see different places. And that keeps it really exciting for me. And I got really interested in just mentoring students and mentoring people who are in accounting who are pursuing the CPA, because someone else did the same for me. And then that's how I got into serving with the AICPA, and that's what inspired my YouTube channel and my blog, the CPA Experience. So I put out videos on YouTube, I interview people on YouTube who can share their experience, and I also share my experience about the CPA exam, how I studied, how I passed, and my experience in public accounting, just to help people put the information out there and just help people make good decisions in terms of their career. And I currently serve with the AICPA as the vice chair on the student recruitment committee. And in that role, I talk to students about my experience in public accounting. I talk to students about passing the CPA. And it's just been a really great and rewarding experience for me to just meet like-minded people who are currently serving with the AICPA and just have a passion for helping and encouraging the next generation of CPAs and helping students really discover what really interests them in accounting, and just helping them along that path. And I've really just had a rewarding experience with this and all of this service with the AICPA. And I'm really excited for the future and the future opportunities that they are. And now I will open up for questions. And that's all I had about my career and about my time in public accounting and my service with the AICPA. So I just got a question here. What is the top piece of advice you would give to someone struggling with studying for the CPA exam? I think the top piece of the main piece of advice I would give to someone who is struggling with studying for the CPA is to have a plan. I feel like when you have a plan, just have a plan of how you're going to knock out the CPA exam, because when you have a plan, you're more likely to stick to that plan than when you don't. Because the CPA exam can be really challenging. It's voluminous, it's a lot of material that you're gonna cover, and just not having a plan can just make it feel very overwhelming. But when you break down your studying into little chunks, maybe you tell yourself, I'm gonna study for 2 hours today and maybe 3 hours tomorrow. But every single day you have a goal to meet, you have something to work towards, and you see how those goals lumped up together can make you achieve the one bigger goal of passing one section, passing 2 sections, and then passing all sections. Just breaking down into smaller chunks. I think that way it makes it more manageable. I got here another question. Do you feel the university you graduated from impacted your career path? Most certainly. I feel like University of Maryland, I'm a very proud Terp, and I really feel that University of Maryland really prepared me with the opportunity to succeed, really prepared me with the opportunity to meet a ton of really great companies, and just provide me with the opportunity to just be successful. So I think it really helped. But also I've seen people who maybe don't go to really top schools but are involved in like NABA, involved with some business organizations that still get similar opportunities. So I think a lot of it might have to do with your university, but a lot of it has to also do with your pursuit and what you want to do with your career, and making sure you stay involved, making sure you network with people, meet people, talk to people, and just pursue your goals. Another question here is, how soon did you realize you wanted to go into tax? I have a really long story about my tax journey and how I decided to go into tax, and I think I have time, so I will go into the long story. So when I was sometime in high school, I read this novel by John Grisham. It's called The Firm. And if you guys haven't read, if you guys like reading, I think it's a good novel to read. It's really interesting. It was about a guy who was an attorney. He graduated from a really top law school, got his CPA, and then he went into working. He got recruited by a lot of law firms, but long story short, he was working for this law firm as a tax attorney, and he was doing a lot of planning and things for this firm, only to realize that at the long run that the firm was managing like a mob and laundering money. And at the time, as a high school student, I was like, oh my God, that's really crazy. Like, how could someone do something like that? Like, how could a firm do something like that? Like, that just really seems so bizarre. But then it just sparked an interest in me that if they could do this for a business that was illegal, there's likely a way to help businesses who are helping Americans, who are building the economy, help them with effective tax planning. There's a lot of things I could do for companies who are doing building the U.S. economy, just help them with their tax planning. And so that really sparked my interest in tax. And when I took my first tax class at the University of Maryland, I really, really enjoyed it. And when I interned with EY, I loved my experience here. And so at that time, my interest in tax was really cemented when I did my internship. I really liked what I did. But yeah, long story short, I got exposed to tax, the idea of tax in high school, and then it got cemented when I did my internship with EY. I have another question here. Can you recommend a way to break into the accounting field with taking classes? I think my recommendation is to take the first level of, I think a lot of schools at least offer an accounting class. So I think take the principle, the very first basic one, just get an idea of what it is, get an idea of what accounting really is, the debits and the credits. And if it makes sense to you, if it interests you, then maybe take the second one. But I think that's the way I would, that's my recommendation in terms of breaking into the accounting field. Take the first principle class. So here you said, why did you choose to double major in accounting and information systems as opposed to accounting and finance? At the time, I knew accounting, the industry in accounting was changing a lot. There was, when I was in college, there was talks about like things getting automated, things database, and all of this programming. And I wanted to put myself in the position where when I got into the field, I could use my technology background with I could mesh my technology and accounting background together. And so that's why I chose accounting and information systems. A lot of people do accounting and finance, which I think is perfectly fine. But at the time, accounting and information systems made sense to me, and that's why I chose it. How did you choose to go into tax as opposed to audit? I'm a freshman at UMD. Go Terps, yay, go Terps. And I find that it's a tough decision that I'm trying to make. Okay, yeah, so this is what I tell people when people ask me why I chose to go into tax versus audit, right? I tell them, currently as a tax professional, what's the dilemma? The dilemma is you want to, most people tell me the dilemma is the one skills that are transferable when they leave public accounting, because some people don't want to stay in public accounting forever, and that's completely fine. I think you learn a lot, however long you stay, wherever you go, you learn a lot in public accounting. So people they're trying between are the skills in tax transferable when they leave public accounting, or are the skills in audit better? I chose tax because I still get to do some audit while I'm in tax. I get to, and when I do audits, I understand businesses. I understand how those businesses function. I understand their processes. And as a tax professional, I get to specialize in something more complex. I get to understand the rigors and the complexity of the Internal Revenue Code. And I think that's a very great skill to have. And so just knowing that I could do both, I could do tax and I could do audit together and learn and get that skill, that's what cemented my decision to go into tax as opposed to audit. And I think whichever one you go into, honestly, I feel whichever service line you go into as a professional, you're still going to learn a lot. So just kind of try different things, ask people different questions about the experiences, and just see what fits you better. But one thing I like to stress is, if you think you're really outgoing and you think, oh, tax, it's good for people who are introverts because they're sitting in the cubicle crunching numbers all day, that's completely false. You're very client-facing in tax. You're not in the cubicle all day. If that's something that's discouraging you from going into tax because you don't think you're going to be facing clients, it shouldn't at all, because you get a lot of client exposure, you get a lot of meeting with people, interacting with your team, collaboration, and so you get this very similar experience that your audit professionals will get. It just, at the end, it just depends on what you kind of want to do. Both of them, I feel, works well, and you get a great experience from either one. And so I have another question here. What are other specializations that are in high demand? I think in terms of specializations, in terms of specializations that are in high demand, I think knowing the complex, just from a tax perspective, just knowing the international tax, helping companies with their international tax structure, with transactions. I think those specializations are in high demand because with a lot of the laws changing, with a lot of the different things happening, companies are really, really looking for some kind of law expertise, interpreting the laws and how it applies to the company, helping companies with complex transactions, with organizing the tax structure. I think those are some specializations that I've seen that are in high demand. I have a question here that's asking, does a law degree in tax help for someone interested in working for tax or the Big Four firm? Yes, most definitely. A law degree helps you, and also a CPA also helps you as well. If you have a law degree and an LLM, I think that's an LLM in tax. I think that puts you at a very high threshold because your law background, your tax law background really adds value to clients. A question here, do you see many accountants working on the political scene in DC? I don't, at my level right now, I don't see many. Actually, I'll take that back. I actually know of some people who in my network worked in the Big Four accounting firm and who right now are staffers for the current administration and helped with actually writing the code that we currently have, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in December. A lot of people who were accountants in the Big Four firm, who were tax accountants in the Big Four firm, they helped advise and they helped write those codes. And when I flip through the pages and I see the names, I can recognize the names of people that I've known from my network. So it's really interesting to see how your specialization in tax could come into play in helping the government and helping writing the future laws. So I just think that's really exciting. So I have another question here. How can I find and build a relationship with recruiters at firms that I'm interested in? I think a way to build relationships is to get involved with those firms. Whenever you hear, so like when I was, I think I was a sophomore at Maryland. When I heard EY was on campus, I went there. I showed my face. I talked to people. I met with a ton of different people, just asking them about the experience, asking them about what they did, how they liked their time at EY, just getting in touch with the recruiter, just showing your face and asking questions and showing interest. I think that can help you with building your relationship with recruiters at the different firms that come to your campus. And so another question here, what are some skill sets that I need to focus on as I progress to make me stand out? I think some skill sets that you can focus on is to be a very good, be a good listener, be a good communicator. A lot of the things we do as client servers is to make sure you can understand what your client is telling you. You can really listen to what your client is telling you, because a client can come to you and tell you a problem, but just the mere misinterpretation of what they tell you could just blow things out of proportion and just cause different problems that shouldn't be there in the first place if you could just listen. So I think just listening and just communicating what you think is the issue. Just so if someone tells you something, you repeat and say, I hear you say this, is that correct? Am I understanding you correctly? So just confirming what you hear, listening correctly, and just communicating. I think those are some skills that you can focus on that can help you stand out as you progress in your career. So here it says, what are the biggest challenges that you face currently at your job after the new tax laws was passed? Challenges. I think I like to see things in terms of opportunities personally as a professional, because I think change is good. Change is an opportunity to learn. Change is an opportunity to grow. Everyone, so when the new tax laws was passed, everyone was learning. Like the partners who've been here for like 20 years and the staff who's been here for like 2 months, we're all on the same playing field. We're learning the same things. We're learning new laws. So it was really exciting to just see, like, if you really invest your time in your career at this point, you could be as smart as you could learn a lot. You could add value to your clients. So it was really exciting for me. But I guess in terms of a challenge, managing the time, because when the tax laws were passed, it was right in the middle of busy season. That's where clients were filing their financial statements. So just managing the time of making sure that we're advising clients on what to do, and also managing the workload of what we currently had without the tax law being passed. Just managing that load was a little challenging, but we got through it. We survived, so it's all good. And then I have a question here that says, does the CPA exam require minimum work experience? Yes, it does. So once you pass your exam, there's a work experience component before you actually get certified. So when I took my exam, I completed my exam. I took my exam I started studying and I completed my exam in October of 2013, but I didn't get licensed until the following November. So they have, at least in Virginia, you're required to at least have a year of working in public accounting with an accounting firm for you to get licensed as a CPA. And I have a question here. What is your advice on studying accounting topics that are less interesting to you? I find cost accounting boring, and I don't know if the lack of interest in this class will affect my grade. I completely understand your question. I completely understand. I mean, yes, accounting can be exciting, but not everything is exciting. Sometimes some classes don't earn your cup of tea, and I think that's completely fine. Cost accounting wasn't my favorite, actually. I think one of my favorite classes was intermediate accounting and taxation. Those two were my favorites. Cost accounting, not so much. And I think just knowing that, okay, I need to get a good grade in this class. I need my GPA to be competitive to get a job. So just get it together. So that just helped me just stay on task with, this is just something I need to get through. This is just something I need to learn. And just making sure, having that focus in my mind and making sure I remembered that constantly, no matter how uninteresting it was to me at the time, I just kind of got through it. And it was probably just like a semester, right? So you just hang in there and just get it done. And I'm sure you can just get it over with. I have another question here. If recruiters don't come to my campus, how can I reach recruiters? That's a very good question. I get a ton of people asking, well, what if people don't recruit from my school? That's why you have organizations, business organizations like NABA. That's why you have your state CPA societies. For me, NABA was very pivotal in my career. There's regional NABA chapters. Join your local NABA chapter. Join your local Alpha chapter. Whatever chapters you have, ABA, Association of Business Professionals. There's so many different chapters that you have, business organizations that you can join and participate in that can really allow you to reach recruiters, to reach firms. And those organizations still offer very competitive job positions. So I think just even though you don't have recruiters coming directly to your school, staying involved and staying active with your local CPA societies or local business organizations can really still give you an opportunity to reach the recruiters. I have another question here. How could I get exposure to different specialties areas I'm interested in once I'm hired in the firm? I think it also depends on what firm you're hired in, right? So like I was hired with, I interned with EY, and EY has a very unique program here in tax that allows me to do a rotation with sub-service lines within tax, right? And decide what area that I really, really enjoy and what area that I want to do. So there's international tax, there's state and local tax, there's federal tax, there's audited, there's quantitative services where you can do a lot of calculations for companies. So I did rotations for like 2 years, maybe around 3 to 4 months at a time. And so after 2 years, I knew, okay, I really like the portion of tax where I help companies where I audit the financial statements and I help companies with reporting their tax and complying with different taxing jurisdictions. And so that's what I chose. So I think just asking questions when you're getting interviewed, when you're interviewing with a lot of firms, ask them what opportunities they have in their firm. Because this program I have with EY is very unique to EY. I think just knowing what each firm offers and knowing what you want for your career and just finding somewhere that offers what you want and pursuing that path, I think that can help you with getting exposure to different specialties. And I had a question just come through on, do you have a master's degree? Do you have to have a master's degree in order to sit for the CPA exam? No, you do not. I personally don't have a master's degree. I only did my bachelor's in accounting and information systems. So yeah, you definitely don't need a bachelor's degree. However, you do need at least 150 credits in certain states. At least I'm certified in the state of Virginia, so I needed 150 credits. So that's why I double majored. But I find that a lot of people like to get a master's degree just because why not just get a master's if you're going to get that many credits? At the time, just getting 2 degrees worked for me. So it doesn't matter, whichever one you prefer, getting a dual degree or getting your master's, just as long as you get the 150 credits, I think you're good. So here, how did you work around the 150 credits for the CPA? Did you take 6 classes per semester? That's what I'm planning on doing. So with the 150 credits, I actually did 5 years of undergrad because I wanted to have like an enjoyable college experience, right? I didn't want to like overload myself with classes that I couldn't like enjoy my college experience, because I wanted to actually have fun in college. So I spread my college time to 5 years, and so I got my 150 credits over a 5-year period, which worked well for me. So I was taking at least like 15 to 16 credits per semester, and then that's how I got through all my all of that. I got my 150 credit requirements. Here I have a question. How often do people move to different offices within EY or work with people on projects from different locations? I think working with people from different locations very often. Moving offices, it happens, but it's not as frequent. But as long as you I think EY is very supportive of people moving for like family reasons or like pursuing like family goals. So maybe if your spouse got a job somewhere else and you wanted to relocate to be with your spouse, I've seen people move for that reason. I've also seen people work on projects in different locations. Currently, I'm working on I currently have a project with a different office, and I've been there for a little while. I also have people who come from like New York. I'm actually based out of Virginia. I have people who come up from New York to work with us, and we work with people from India all the time. So it just kind of depends. There's definitely a lot of opportunities to work on work on projects from different locations, because it's a very global firm and you're really interacting with people from all over. What's the hierarchy of promotion in the firm, and how do you get promoted quickly? I think the hierarchy of, at least at EY, the hierarchy here is you stay as a staff you get hired as a staff. You do a staff, you're in a staff role for 2 years, and then you get you do your senior role for 3 years, and then you get to manager. Then you do your manager for 3 years, and then you get senior manager, and then senior manager. So I'm not sure how long it takes from senior manager to partner, but that's typically the path here, at least at EY. In terms of getting promoted quickly, I think just outperforming your peers and just doing a really good job and exceeding expectations they have for you. But I think in terms of getting promoted quickly, I think, and rather than thinking about getting promoted quickly, I think I like to think of it as, think of a way that you can really get as much experience as you can. Because if you get promoted to a different level, the expectation is that you can deliver at that level. And spending 3 years as a senior and getting that experience as a senior, I think it's better than just getting promoted quickly and just running through the ranks just for the sake of being promoted quickly. But that's just me. What section of the CPA exam was the hardest for you? I think the hardest section for me was BEC, and the reason was, and a lot of people say BEC is the easiest one, but I think BEC was really hard for me because that was the last section I studied. And at that time, I already knew I'd passed 3 sections. I was just like, oh my God, I want to be over with this. I want this to be over. I want to be done. Like this to just end. So it was just really hard for me to just stay focused and just actually read and understand the material. So that one was a little more challenging. I think it took me a lot longer than it should have because it had less chapters, and it was supposedly easy, but it just took me a longer while, and it was just really hard for me to focus. So I'll say BEC was definitely the hardest one for me. Hi Sharon, what was the biggest challenge you faced on your way to becoming a CPA? So for me, right, the biggest challenge I faced was the nice weather. Like I was studying in the summer, and you know when you graduate from college, everyone is just having fun and just trying to live life. It's like this is my last summer of like adulting. I'm going into the real world. I never have a summer off. So the hardest part for me was just the nice weather and seeing people outside having happy hour, going to brunch, and I was just inside studying. That was just really challenging. Like I was just like, yo, like is this life? Like I just can't, because just seeing that everyone else was having fun and I was inside studying was just really challenging. But every day I would remind myself, I have a goal here. I want to study for the CPA. I want to pass. I want to be done with this for the rest of my life. I just want to just knock it out and just be done. And so just reminding myself constantly that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get it done and just be done. Just kept me motivated and just helped me stay on track with studying and just helped me stay on my goal. And you know, every day I look back, I'm like, if I could change anything, I wouldn't. Like, I wouldn't change anything about the experience. I'm glad I got it done when I did. I'm glad it was over. I'm just glad I just stayed on track. So glad. So I have a question here. How is your work-life balance as a tax professional? Thank you for doing this on a snow day here in DC. Yes, it is snowing. It's snowing really bad, but you know, commitment. But how is work-life balance? I think in terms of work-life balance, just know, I think I personally, I told myself when I went into accounting, I listed for myself what are the things that are important to me, what are the things I know like I can negotiate, I can't really negotiate. These are the things that are important to me. So like having a healthy lifestyle, working out, staying fit, going to church on Sunday. So those are the things that were really important to me, and just communicating that to my team and making sure, okay, my team knows these are the commitments I have in terms of my life, in terms of training for my half marathons, in terms of being active, just making sure I communicated that to my team. I found that a lot of my team has been very supportive. Not once have they said, oh no, you can't go run, you can't go to the gym. Like, no, and obviously I know when my clients have deadlines. I'm not gonna just like not work around my clients' deadlines, because I'm serving clients. That's my role. So just knowing what the client deadlines are and knowing what commitments I have for my personal health and my personal life, and just knowing how to manage those and communicating those to my team has been helpful in managing the work and life and getting that work-life balance. So you said here, what college minor would best complement an accounting major? Okay, I think in terms of the way the industry is changing currently, and in terms of the way things are changing in terms of automation, robotics, I think if I were to recommend a minor with an accounting major, I think do something related to technology, do something related to programming, computer science, mathematics, something related to like that's going to help you understand the automation and the programming aspect of software, so technology, something of that nature. That's what I would recommend, because that's where I see a lot of the things, the trend going towards. That's where I see a lot of the trends going. What are your career goals for the next 10 years? I think I really enjoy my time here at EY. I like that I'm learning, and I like the experience I'm getting. So I like being here at EY. I also see myself teaching at college. So sometime down the road, I would see myself teaching at a college or university. So that's something I have in my long-term vision. If you guys have more questions, I can take more questions. Who did I pick to? Who did you pick to win the NCAA tournament? You know, I would have picked Maryland. Like every year when Maryland was in the bracket, I would just pick Maryland just because, you know, I have to support my school. No matter, even if they're not as good as the competition, I always pick Maryland. But anyway, Maryland was not in the University of Maryland. College Park was not in the bracket this year. I was like, okay, well, what's the closest school? UVA, because I mean, I know some people who went to UVA. So I picked UVA to win. And you know, UMBC just busted my bracket entirely. So just like I was done after that game. It was just really bad. So I think that was my last question. And I'm really excited about the opportunity, really humbled to have done this for you guys, really humbled by all the questions and the support I get from the AICPA. Very glad that you guys all tuned in to ask questions, to really hear about my experience. And in terms of finding me online, you can find me online on Instagram. It's _Achama, ACHAMA, as you can see on the screen, and on LinkedIn also, and also on YouTube. I post videos maybe once a month, except when I'm in busy season like now, when I'm just like trying to focus on my work. But I usually try to post often, and I respond to all my comments. You can also email me with my email on the screen, Sharon@CPAExperience.com. I always try to respond to my emails and share my experience, because that's the most rewarding part for me as a professional, knowing that I can give back to students who are on the path to becoming a CPA, who are on the path to accounting, and just helping them navigate their career and just be successful. Because there's room for success. Everyone can be successful, everyone can succeed. And so if I have a hand to play in helping people discover what they want to do, helping people succeed and pursue their passions and just be great, that's really rewarding and exciting for me. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me on any of those social media streams, and I'll be glad to just help as much as I can. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful afternoon if you're on the East Coast, afternoon, and if you're on the West Coast, good morning. Bye.